smoke jujitsu.
Yes. Hello, it's the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily.
And I'm Chris.
It's Friday Reads.
Woohoo!
It's a beautiful day. It's sunny, so you're going to see these little marks on us, which we're thrilled to see because there hasn't been a ton of sun the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been pretty wintry here, but I feel like spring is definitely on the way.
It feels like that in our cove because at low tide, we get clammers in the warmer weather, and today they're out, so they're feeling the 45 degrees, I guess, feels warm enough for them.
Yes. So Friday Reads.
Yes. Should I go first, or you want to go first?
I can go first.
Please.
Because I'd like to let everyone know about Finding Margaret Fuller. If you haven't heard about this one already, I think I've talked about it as one that's an upcoming read. Maybe that was on the podcast. But this is by Alison Pataki. And Margaret Fuller was an actual woman in the 19th century who was a real kick-ass feminist. Some people consider her like the mother of American feminism because one of her most famous books, Women in the 19th Century, was really influential. Mm-hmm. So, and it was really awful that she died so young in a shipwreck because she was kind of like reaching her, not her peak, but her masterful years as a writer and a speaker and everything. So I'm enjoying it. I'm that far in, if you can see. So,
and it's fiction, right?
It is fiction. This is historical fiction. And this is the first fictionalized account of Margaret Fuller's life. And it's really kind of, it's really hanging tight to Concord, Massachusetts, and Emerson. Mm-hmm. So she and Emerson were really good friends, and she stayed at their house quite a bit. And she's also met Thoreau, who was like a handyman living in Emerson's house. Louisa May Alcott and her family lived across the street. So Bronson Alcott's in here. Mm-hmm. Like anytime he shows up in a book these days, it's like, oh, here we go. Same thing in this book too. He's just like, he was just like so ethereal in his thinking and so idealistic that he didn't think like money really mattered. But then all the women in his life are scrambling around him to take care of him. Anyway, enough about him. Margaret Fuller, fantastic so far. It is a little focused on her romantic feelings and longing as a woman, and I kind of want more of her mind. Interesting. And I'm on part 3 right now. And Margaret Fuller was friends with Elizabeth Peabody. So the scene I'm on right now is Elizabeth Peabody and Margaret Fuller are talking with Margaret Fuller's mom and really saying, Mom, it's okay that I'm a public speaker. And then I'm charging for these conversations. Because, from a different generation, that was considered very unladylike.
Right. And forward.
Yes.
So, and what day does it come out?
This comes out March 19th.
Oh, just on the
from Ballantine Books.
Right on.
So, if it sounds interesting to you, historical fiction about a prominent American woman whose name, sadly, is not as well known as it should be, but I think she might be having a bit of a renaissance. Check it out.
Right on. I'm reading something that came out a long time ago. This is called Mrs. Calaban by Rachel Ingalls. When I was in Aspen in January at the Aspen Words Festival, Ann Patchett and Elizabeth McCracken both recommended this book. So it got on my radar. And then when we were at the Phoebe Noyes Griffin Library in Old Lyme last week, there it was, out facing, like it was asking for me to pick it up. It looks like the face of a sea creature. And that is because this novel is about a housewife, a lonely housewife that falls in love with a sea creature.
Interesting. And it's a thin little novel.
It is. It's a little novel. Now, I did a little research on Rachel Ingalls, who has sadly passed away. Mm-hmm. This book was originally published in 1982 and then New Directions republished in 2017. They kind of found this novel, and it had a little bit of a moment when it came out in 86, but not much. And then in 2017, it was really spotted again by reviewers and the New Yorker, etc. And some people think that the movie The Shape of Water that won the Academy Award, that was kind of based on a similar idea, was not based on a similar idea, was about a woman who falls in love with a sea creature. It was based on this novel, but it was not. So if you've seen that movie, don't think that it's based on this novel. But she died in her 70s. She ended up coming down with myeloma in her early 70s and passed away, I think, at 78. But she lived long enough to see people, kind of rally around her work again, which is really cool. Yeah. So again, Mrs. Calaban, Rachel Ingalls, I cannot wait. That's going to be what I start tonight. Nice. Yeah, I know. I love the cover. It kind of follows you around the room.
It does. I mean, at first the eyeballs, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if they were like grommets or what it was. And then I noticed the little lips down there, little mouth.
I know, because this part kind of makes you think like submarine or boat or something, right? Yeah, but then you've got the lips. I can't wait.
Nice. Well, my next book that I'm going to talk about is an ebook. And an ebook. It is an audiobook. And Vampires of El Norte. If you can't see that, it's the coolest cover. Yeah. I really like the cover a lot. Very dramatic. And this is by Isabel Cañas. Right? Cañas. I'm 29% in and loving it so much. This is a book that I started as, I think, first as an ebook and then as a paper book, and I just wasn't getting into it, but I thought it sounds so good. I got the audio, and it's really grabbed me. I think part of it is this is a story that's set in Mexico in the early 19th century. I think 1830s or so is when it kicks off. So there's a lot of Spanish words and names and everything. And so since I don't speak Spanish, it's just so much richer to have the narrators pronouncing everything correctly. And it just helps set the scene a bit more. So it's kind of like a story about there is a vampire creature involved, but it's mainly at this point anyway about the love story between the two main characters. They're about 13 years old, a boy and a girl, when something happens, and it's a bit of one of those young lovers torn apart stories at this point. And I don't want to give too many spoilers. And I'm not even disappointed that there's not a lot of vampire action, because I'm just so curious about what's going to happen. One of the things that's happening in the story is that the white people from Texas are starting to move in and try and take a lot of the land from the Mexicans. So the girl's father right now, she's a woman at this point, he's getting together a squadron of men to help protect the land from the white people who are moving in. So there's some historical events in there as well as vampire action.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, that was The Vampires of El Norte.
Right on. I love how sometimes listening in another format brings the story to life, and you'll see if you finish it off that way or if you go back to the book, I
don't think I will, because and it's two narrators, I should say.
Fun.
I don't know. Let me see if it's a quick pull up here it won't be a quick pull up with the names of the narrators, but it's a man and a woman narrating it, and they both do a good job with different voices. So that makes it exciting as well.
Yes. So the other book I'm spending time with this weekend and have been for the last week is called The Miller's Daughter, and Unusual Flowers and Heritage Greens, Stories and Recipes from Hayden Flour Mills. I actually purchased this cookbook. I don't often purchase cookbooks, but when I was visiting my son and daughter-in-law, they had a copy and I couldn't put it down. Hayden Flour Mills is a father-daughter duo out in Arizona. They mill ancient grains, and the beginning of the cookbook tells the story of her dad wanting to restart. I think it had been a family granary like way back in the day that had gone into disrepair. He was, in his 50s or 60s, had a full-time job, but wanted to restart the flour mill, and his daughter was pursuing her PhD. And he called her and said, come on, you want to come home and do this with me. Sure enough, she did, back home where she was raised. ended up falling in love, starting a family, and they run this mill together. And she's a great writer. So the beginning of it, she talks about how now her dad calls her with all these great ideas and dreams, and she's like, yeah, Dad, whatever, we've got a mill to run.
Nice.
But they have beautiful flour that they sell in these boxes, so maybe you've seen it. It has their logos really familiar, and they sell crackers. And the cookbook is set up in different sections for the grains themselves, which I really like. And the recipe that I've gone back to and I made twice when I was visiting my son and daughter-in-law, and I was only there for a week. And I've made it twice since I've gotten home, is this overnight oat bake. So for any of you who might make overnight oatmeal, which I'm a big fan of, but overnight oatmeal is cold. This is the same concept, but you bake it. So this time of year when it's cold outside, it's nice to wake up and eat something warm. So I love this cookbook. I cannot say enough about it. And it's beautiful.
Wow. And your son is a miller.
And my son is a miller. I should, yes. Shameless promotion. He is the miller at Roaring Fork Mill in Carbondale, Colorado. I will put the link down below if you'd like to purchase flour, which is part of the reason why they had this cookbook there. Yeah, and it was fun to use his grains when I was there visiting. So thank you, Chris.
Of course, yes.
What are you guys reading? We want to know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Love to hear that. And yeah, we hope you have lots of good reading this weekend. I know some people work more on the weekends than they do on the weekdays. So
yes,
whenever
you're getting your reading time.
Whenever you get it, we hope you do have some.
Yeah. Should we show our books again?
Oh, I don't know if I can see.
Audiobook.
Tell
us if you've listened to any good audiobooks, because we're always looking for that.
Yes, I just recommended again recently True Grit, the audiobook that Donna Tartt narrates. Oh my God, it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Happy reading, everybody.